Tonight on To The Point, protests across the U.S. against recent Trump administration policies. Tonight, why the president's newest order targets transgender athletes. Plus, California's controversial high-speed rail project back in the spotlight.
We're going to start a big investigation on that.
Tonight, a new report signaling the project is behind schedule and how it could soon face a massive funding challenge. And a major policy shift in Sacramento County.
We can't keep doing what we're doing and coming to these calls.
The sheriff's office limiting its response to mental health calls. Tonight, what it means for other first responders. Good evening, and thank you so much for joining us on To The Point. I'm Laura Painter, in for Alex Bell. Today, thousands of people gathered across America protesting new Trump administration policies. From Sacramento to Texas, Michigan, Indiana, Rhode Island, and as far south as Georgia, demonstrators gathered outside federal courtrooms and state capitals. The movement was organized online under the hashtags Build the Resistance and 5051, which stands for 50 protests, 50 states, 1 day. Protesters waved signs condemning President Trump's executive actions, Elon Musk, the leader of Trump's new Department of Government Efficiency, and Project 2025. Hundreds of people also rallied in Washington, D.C. today in support of the U.S. Agency for International Development. It comes as the Trump administration is dismantling the government agency aid. The administration said it is pulling almost all workers off the job and out of the field worldwide. Throughout the day, Governor Gavin Newsom met with President Trump and members of Congress in Washington, D.C. The governor posted this video on X as he met with both Democrats and Republicans. Newsom is trying to shore up federal disaster funding to support survivors of the LA wildfires. The governor's office says Newsom also met with President Trump behind closed doors. This trip to Washington, D.C. follows the president's visit to survey fire damage in LA, where the two talked for the first time since President Trump's first term. Surrounded by children today, President Trump signed an executive order banning transgender athletes from participating in women's sports. The order mandates schools and athletic associations to align with the Trump administration's view, which interprets sex as the gender someone was assigned at birth. The White House warns that if universities don't comply, they could lose federal funding and also face legal action. Critics worry the order will only lead to increased discrimination and harassment. In the courts, President Trump's attempts at ending birthright citizenship have been blocked again. A second federal judge struck down the president's executive order denying U.S. citizenship to children of undocumented immigrants or lawful immigrants who are in the country temporarily. In her decision, U.S. District Judge Deborah Boardman said, quote, "The denial of the right to citizenship will cause irreparable harm." 22 states, 2 cities, and several organizations have sued the Trump administration to try to stop the executive action. The case will likely make its way to the U.S. Supreme Court. New reaction tonight over President Trump's comments saying he wants the U.S. to take over Gaza. President Trump made the announcement last night, standing alongside Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in the White House. President Trump says he wants to develop the land and permanently remove the nearly 2 million Palestinians who live there. He says he's also open to the idea of using the U.S. military, causing Republicans and Democrats on Capitol Hill to say this.
There's some ambiguities and blanks to fill in. I expect the White House to do that. I'm not supportive of having the American people pay to rebuild Gaza. I don't think that's our responsibility.
The president has simply been treating Gaza as if it were one more real estate development opportunity.
Some of America's closest allies in the United Nations are also pushing back, saying Palestinians should be able to stay in Gaza. A Hamas leader also responded to President Trump's statements, saying they consider this racism and an ethnic cleansing crime. They called on President Trump to retract his statements. Hamas is still negotiating with Israel for the next phase of their ceasefire deal. California's controversial high-speed rail project is taking more criticism tonight. Following President Trump's claims from the Oval Office, it's the worst managed project he's ever seen. President Trump criticized the project's schedule and finances, threatening to launch an investigation himself. ABC 10's Jeannie Nguyen joins us now with California lawmakers and a Central Valley mayor's response to the threat. Jeannie.
Laura, Trump's comments come around the same time the high-speed rail's inspector general released a new report stating the project is falling behind schedule. But lawmakers and the mayor of Fresno urge naysayers to be patient, saying this project will benefit the Central Valley and the state.
It's impossible that something could cost that much. And now it's not even going to San Francisco, and it's not going to Los Angeles.
On Tuesday, President Donald Trump criticized California's controversial high-speed rail project.
We're going to start a big investigation on that because I've never seen anything like it.
Many Republicans echo the president's concerns. Congressmember Kevin Kiley even recently introduced legislation to stop federal funding. But Republican Fresno Mayor Jerry Dyer says this project is crucial for the Central Valley.
Here's a reality. We need high-speed rail here in the valley to be able to connect us to the rest of the California economy.
Dyer says he understands the criticisms and would support any investigation from the president.
Why the cost overruns? Why the delays? I have those same questions, and I know the president has called for some type of a audit or a study to be done. I support that.
In October 2024, the High-Speed Rail's Inspector General published this report saying the current project from Merced to Bakersfield faces a funding gap of $6.5 billion and intends to fill that with federal grant funds. This week, the Inspector General released this report saying the project is falling behind schedule and will not meet its target deadline.
He hasn't seen the rest of the plan that we'll come forward with this year.
As a member of the California Senate Transportation Committee, Democratic Senator Dave Cortese has worked with Congress to secure billions of dollars to the high-speed rail project. If federal funding is at risk, Cortese says that will only be 5% of the project's total cost of $80 billion.
It would be hard to blame him if the project collapsed because there's so much more money that's needed that California is responsible for raising outside of the federal government.
California's High-Speed Rail Authority declined an interview request with ABC 10 on Wednesday, but pointed to recent comments where the CEO reiterated his focus on staying on budget and schedule.
Laser focused on building more and getting it delivered sooner, economically, smarter, and faster.
Now, we reached out to Congressman Kevin Kiley's team for an interview today as well, but his team says the congressman was not available, but says following Trump's comments this week, it appears the president will sign his bill to cut the federal dollars to the project. Of course, Congress would still need to pass the legislation. It's still unclear how the president plans to investigate the project. Laura.
All right, Jeannie, thank you. Keep us posted. An update tonight, the U.S. Postal Service says it's resumed accepting all international inbound parcels from China and Hong Kong. We reported this to you last night as breaking news that parcels were temporarily suspended following China's retaliatory tariffs. The U.S. Postal Service says they are working with Customs and Border Protection to ensure the least disruption to deliveries. Still ahead, on to the point, a major policy shift. Why the Sacramento County Sheriff's Office is limiting its response to mental health calls. Plus, as more Californians go electric, how researchers are trying to expand the life of the car's battery.
Another weather impact alert day for you starting tomorrow. How much more rain and snow could be on the way?
Okay, let's talk weather now. Meteorologist Carly Gomez is here. It was such a gorgeous day today, a nice break from the storms, but more's on the way, right?
More's on the way. It was such a gorgeous day, but very cold in the early morning hours as we saw a lot of those temperatures dipping near freezing point. So cold start, sunshine out there, but we do have a weather impact alert for you. Starting tomorrow morning through Friday morning, the impact will be valley rain and even heavy Sierra snowfall. Your need is to please be safe driving out there. Watch for the rain and showers, especially when they come down heavy, as well as those icy conditions in the Sierra for those roadways. We are tracking a low pressure system that'll be approaching in the next 24 hours, bringing in another atmospheric river with it. Now we're also starting to see some more watches, warnings, and advisories pop up. A flood watch near the Bay Area in Santa Rosa, at least the North Bay, until 1 p.m. on Friday for potential flooding and localized ponding. We'll also be seeing here an avalanche watch until Thursday, 4 p.m. for some heavy snowfall still expected for our Sierra areas and central Sierra spots. And most of that is the back country. So please be careful with that if you have plans to drive through backcountry areas there. Probably not a smart decision for Thursday and moving into Friday. Winter storm warning will be in effect for elevations as low as 5,000 feet and higher. We'll see this winter storm warning in effect until noon on Friday. We could see a lot of snow associated with this, especially as we're getting a lot of cold air moving in now, and then the atmospheric river right into it. That is 9 a.m. You're seeing some heavy rain already pushing with scattered showers as well as Sierra snowfall by those morning hours, and continuing on and off scattered showers throughout the day into your Thursday afternoon. And then it continues into Friday about mid-morning hours. Could still see a few more scattered showers. You're looking at 6 a.m. here, but that Sierra snow continues to fall. We will see most of this coming to an end with a lot of the foothill spots getting that rain through the afternoon and evening hours by around 4 p.m. Rain totals, though, ahead could be anywhere from a quarter to a half inch of rain in the valley and as much as 1 to 1.5 inches into our foothills. Looking at our model snowfall totals, we could get as much as about a foot to maybe a foot and a half of snowfall, according to the GFS. The European model showing very similar numbers, maybe a foot to a foot and a half possible within that 24-hour period. Over the next few days, we'll be looking at temperatures in the mid-50s. We'll have one day in the overnight Thursday to Friday where we're a little bit warmer because of all the cloud coverage. Then we drop back down into those 30s, moving through next week with daytime highs in the mid-50s.
Sounds good, Carly. Thank you. Next, on To the Point, the Sacramento County Sheriff's Office is limiting its response to mental health calls, what it means for other first responders, plus what a new report is revealing about the state's mental health spending. And as California tries to eliminate emissions, new research is trying to give electric cars a longer battery life. An inside look at the research underway. Sacramento County Sheriff Jim Cooper announced a major policy shift when it comes to his department's role in responding to mental health crisis calls. The sheriff said the decision comes in light of a recent federal court ruling that found police use of force in such situations is unconstitutional. ABC 10's Luke Clary has the details.
Sacramento County deputies will no longer respond to non-criminal mental health calls. Sheriff Jim Cooper announcing the policy change this week, taking immediate effect.
Sometimes we introduce a badge and a gun in a situation, it escalates the issue, and we can't have that happen here.
He pointed to a Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals ruling in the policy decision.
Yeah, so he's got a knife with him. He's got a knife.
This incident in Rio Linda last year shows what happened when deputies responded to a reported mental health crisis. Christopher Gilmore, whose family says was suicidal, came out of his home naked, bleeding, and armed with a knife. He was shot and killed by a deputy. ABC 10 showed this surveillance video of the incident to Ed Obayashi, a law enforcement policy advisor.
My reaction was that, why are the deputies going to these types of calls?
He said then that law enforcement is not equipped to handle these situations.
They need to turn to the professional resources. Again, whether it's a suicide hotline, county mental health services.
Gilmore's family filed a civil rights wrongful death lawsuit against the sheriff's office.
Unfortunately, I can't comment on that particular one just because there is pending litigation, but I can say we definitely empathize that a life was lost. And us not responding to other non-criminal calls may prevent, other lives being unnecessarily lost.
Sheriff spokesman Amar Gandhi encouraging people to call 988 for this kind of mental health emergency.
We want to incorporate the county's 988 program, the community wellness response team that the county has in place with licensed and trained clinicians to go and provide them resources.
Luke Clary, ABC 10.
Luke, thank you. Sacramento County Behavioral Health Services said in part, quote, working closely with the Sheriff's Office and WellSpace Health on this updated policy and would continue to adjust its procedures as needed to ensure the uninterrupted delivery of 988 services while maintaining a safe environment for our team. A new report shows the state could do a better job at providing funds and resources to support mental health. The Legislative Analyst's Office, a nonpartisan policy advisor to the legislature, published this report on Wednesday. It analyzes the state's behavioral health continuum infrastructure project and the funds provided through Proposition 1. The report says, in general, the program is building much needed behavioral health infrastructure, but there are opportunities for improvement, especially in smaller counties.
About 2/3 of small counties in the state, including Amador County, have not received any funding yet in the kind of main grant program that's being used for the new Proposition 1 bond. And so we're trying to highlight potential reasons for that and help the legislature.
LAO is hoping this report can provide some insight into the state legislature to start asking questions to better distribute the funding so more progress can be made. Turning to your price points tonight, a new report shows California's electric vehicle market is losing speed. Data from the California New Car Dealers Association show zero-emission vehicles accounted for 22% of industry registrations in 2024. That's significantly below California's 35% by 2026 goal. But as California pushes drivers toward electric vehicles, researchers are trying to figure out if there could be more to a vehicle's battery life, giving an electric car a longer life. Drew Luma reports.
Let's go for a ride.
On the winding roads around Stanford, we're about to test drive an important discovery. Our wheelman is Professor William Chu from the SLAC National Accelerator Laboratory.
All right, here we go. Can I give you a jolt?
Professor Chu is demonstrating the real-world driving conditions that may help EV batteries last much longer than even the manufacturers estimate. But first, it might help to tap the brakes and take a look at why those battery life projections are so different. To do that, fellow researcher Alexei Gislin braved the cooling fan noise to take us into a testing lab at the SLAC Stanford Battery Center.
So here we have a room full of cyclers and environmental chambers to cycle, meaning charging and discharging batteries.
And he says the team used this row of small oven door chambers to study how the EV batteries age, but in a new way. Instead of just draining them at a constant rate, they also introduce variables, electronic starts and stops that more closely mimic actual driving conditions.
So more realistic, representative of real driving, and you can see both the voltage response of the battery and the current are actually very dynamic.
Dynamic and surprising. They say the data suggests average EV battery life may be roughly 40% longer than estimated, a result that's the opposite of what the team expected.
We were blown away when the result was exactly the opposite, that when we use the batteries in a realistic setting, the lifetime was much longer than expected.
Back on the road, Professor Chu demonstrates what they believe is going on. First, the effects of drifting downhill on our winding road.
So now we're going downhill, so actually you're now continuously charging the battery.
Next, he points out the power that's recovered by the friction of the brake pads, a technology known as regenerative braking.
Oh, now we have the brake. Here we go. So now we are recharging the battery, just a tiny bit. The power of red lights, there we go.
And they say all those starts and stops add up to more recharging than expected. And for most drivers, longer battery life, potentially saving owners money and making electric vehicles an even more attractive option.
So it's not something you can put a dollar amount to it on day one, but if you knew that the battery was going to last 10 years rather than 5 years, then that's going to be a significant driver for adoption.
And perhaps a smoother and more affordable road ahead for millions of EV owners.
Now, for those interested in buying electric cars, there have been rumors of the federal government ending its electric vehicle tax credit. When we checked the Department of Energy's website today, it shows you can still claim tax credits for up to $7,500 for eligible new cars and $4,000 for eligible used cars. A reminder now to be sure to watch To the Point tomorrow at 6:30 for a special investigation. Jeannie Wynn reports on illegal dumping in North Sacramento, where people are fed up and calling for change.
I can be driving down Del Paso Boulevard here, and people do it in broad daylight. Nobody cares. It doesn't seem like anybody cares.
Trash is piling up in North Sacramento with hundreds of calls to the city, but the issue still remains.
We don't feel that they're doing enough for our community.
What's being done to address the problem?
It's about time, and now we see something for the better happening.
Watch this special investigation Thursday on To the Point with Alex Bell at 6:30, only on ABC 10.
You know what that music means, a big night for Kings fans and the capital city. This is a gorgeous live look outside at Golden One Center where the Sacramento Kings will face off against the Orlando Magic tonight. Tip-off is in just a few minutes at 7 o'clock. Tonight's game is a new era for the Sacramento Kings. The newest king, Zach LaVine, debuts tonight at the game. LaVine was acquired from the Chicago Bulls by the Kings earlier this week as part of a 3-team trade that sent De'Aaron Fox to the San Antonio Spurs. We streamed both Monty McNair's news conference and Zach LaVine's introductory news conference live today on the ABC 10 Plus TV streaming app. You can also find the latest Locked On Kings episode on our home screen right now. The ABC 10 Plus TV streaming app is free to download wherever you stream. And thank you so much for watching and inviting us into your home. If you have anything that you think that we should be looking into, just send the team an email at tothepoint@abc10.com. The To The Point doesn't end here. To watch stories featuring on the show, download our free ABC 10 Plus TV streaming app.